Welcome to the TLW podcast. Sean Owens here with my co-host and partner, Coach Pixley. Coach, how we doing, man?
Doing fantastic. Let's go.
So excited to have our next guest, good friend. Jason's worn a lot of hats amongst the individuals at this table. We've got him as a friend of mine. His daughter is a great friend with my daughter. He has the distinct past of being a teammate with this gentleman right here, Coach Pixley. And my parents, whenever they found out you were coming on the podcast, they're like, Jason Bourne, is this dad Dan Bourne? And I said, I don't know. I'll find out. And sure enough, Dad, Dan Bourne, got a long career at LSU. But Jason, all that being said, thanks for coming on the podcast, brother.
It's great to be here. It's an honor.
I'd like to start things off with just kind of hearing about the past a little bit. I know that you've got a history of playing some basketball at Catholic High, serial entrepreneur, incredibly successful in many, many ventures along the way. But I don't know. We're going to kick things off at the very beginning right here and learn a little bit about you and what all you've been involved in and kind of how you've done the things that you've done and what's led you to where you are now.
Well, Sean, basketball was the dream.
Yeah.
Kind of like this guy sitting next to me. I, as a kid, literally dreamt at night and during the day about, playing college basketball, playing in the NBA. Went to Catholic High, started playing there. I guess my senior year, this kid showed up named Jonathan Pixley. I thought I was an All-American. And then Pixley came, and Pixley brought a crew with him. Not only did Pixley come, a crew came with him. And so I realized that my future was probably not basketball at that point. But it's really neat how things come full circle. And now we're sitting here together.
It's crazy. I mean, you were in my wedding. We were business partners for a time. Obviously, teammates in high school. All of those things, like just to think about the fact that, I go to play college basketball, want to go play in the NBA, get hurt, come back to Baton Rouge, we reconnect, and then to be back here years and years later is really, really cool and special for me as well. But before we get into you, okay, you have to tell this story. Everybody's got to hear this story because your father has been the voice of the Tigers at LSU for 39 years.
Yeah.
And is retiring from that position. Look, LSU is a staple of Louisiana, a staple of the United States from an athletic standpoint. We know that. But anybody who knows anything about LSU sports knows that voice. And I will never forget, before I hand it off to you, one of the reasons I went to Samford University, and just think about the full circle stuff here. One of the reasons I went to Samford University was because my coach at the time promised me we would come play LSU. We come play LSU my senior year, and we beat LSU in the PMAC. But before the game started, you announce the starting lineups. Mm-hmm. And so typically, Mr. Borne would, when he would announce the starting lineups for the opposing team, it would be very, very monotone and, lower decibel, let's say. And then he'd get all pumped up for LSU. Well, he announces me. I'm the last guy getting announced for Samford. And he starts it with, and from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You would have thought I was playing for LSU. Everybody's just looking around like, what's going on? I was hoping he was going to do that. And he did it.
He did. Yeah. And the funny part is that about half the people there, it was half full, and half the people there were there to see you and went crazy when he announced you.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was amazing.
But anyhow, tell our viewers how he went about getting the job to begin with.
Yeah, crazy story. So I was in the 7th or 8th grade at the time. This is 1980, the summer before the season, 1986 or 5-6 maybe. Anyway, so I remember
Hodgson was the quarterback then.
Tommy was a freshman coming in.
Yeah.
And the magician from Matthews. But one of the most highly rated recruits we had gotten in a long time, and everybody was excited.
By the way, a great basketball player as well.
Yes, really many years later I learned that in the dungeon underneath the PMAC.
Yeah.
He was a great athlete,
Yeah.
and similar to you. And so Dad knew the guy that was retiring. The guy's name was Sid Crocker, And Dad had worked at Channel 9 many, many years ago and did news and sports when he was 21, 22 years old before I was born. And Sid worked there, so he knew Sid. Sid had taken him up in the PA booth and said, maybe one day you could do this. But Sid told Dad he was retiring. He said, look, I really have no pull to get you the job, but why don't you send him a letter? Because then there was no email, right? And Sid said, don't call, just send him a letter. So I'll never forget my dad on a typewriter, typing a letter to LSU, right? Looking at snail mail, boom. And for 4 or 5 months, heard nothing. And then literally a couple weeks before that season, he gets a phone call. I answer the phone. It's on the rotary phone at our house, right? The one that, you turn. Yeah. And it's a guy named Jamie Kimbrough, who was the sports information director at LSU, who had come from Miami with Bob Broadhead and that whole crew. And he said, do you want to come talk about this job? And my dad, yeah, great. When? Now? So Dad goes, and they sit for about 30 minutes. And as Dad tells the story, they basically just asked me if I knew how to pronounce these Cajun names, Boudreaux, Thibodeau, Fontenot. He said, well, I not only know how to pronounce their names, I know their daddies. Because Dad had grown up in Thibodeau, right. with the Rodrigues and all these guys. Right. And Ruffin was actually on that team.
Wow.
And so at the very end of it wasn't even an interview. They said, well, do you want this job? He goes, this has been my dream job since I was a kid. They said, well, the job's yours. And he goes, really? Yeah, the job's yours. Get ready. The season starts in 3 weeks. And Dad said, well, why did you give it to me? And they said, because nobody else asked.
So talk about how amazing that is.
Well, I mean, so growing up as kids, Dad, would give speeches because that wasn't his real job. Like he had a real job as a lobbyist and he did a lot of different things, but he would always talk about the power of the ask. And you have not because you ask not. And if you don't go, you'll never know. If you don't ask, the answer's always no. And so what a valuable lesson as kids, but also he's told that story literally all over the world. And people now, after they hear it, they ask for what they want because it's the only way you're ever going to get it. And so I don't believe he thought it would last that long. He started doing basketball 2 years later. And so the memories as a kid of going up in the press box and, being at the basketball games and Chris Jackson and Shaquille O'Neal and all the greats that came after that and Jonathan Pixley, being announced in some of Dale's final years.
Easy. Yeah.
But let me tell you, John Brady is forever thankful to Jonathan Pixley because Joe Dean was the athletic director. Right. We could go talk about him for the next 10 hours.
Forever.
But Samford beating LSU and Jonathan Pixley being announced as, the Michael Jordan of Samford helped John Brady get that job. And
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's the full circle, right?
That's the full circle.
So John Brady was my coach, gets the job. Yep. So Dan Bourne is now announcing John Brady's games moving forward after that.
Amazing. So the power of the ask. Amazing. And so now he's retiring, which is bittersweet. But in, listening to people everywhere I go, so Dad's retiring, if you're under the age of 45, when you're 4, 5, and 6 years old, you don't really remember being in the stadium. Right. But if you're under 45, it's the only voice you've ever heard in that stadium. And that's what people have said. So it's pretty special.
So how strange is it going to be being in the stadium and not hearing the voice? Like there are going to be people who are like, this is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be very weird, especially for us, because half of the games for us was going to hear, and my kids, they call him Pear Dan. Okay. So they don't want to watch the game. They don't want to sit in the stands. They want to sit in the stadium club, get free ice cream sandwiches, and hear Pear Dan.
That's awesome.
That's it. That's fantastic. Say chance of rain never.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to get into some things, but before I do, I know we've heard a lot of things about your dad. You got any fun stories about this guy? Like just a quick 1 or 2 things about what it was like playing with him?
Man,
I wasn't aware we were doing this.
Well, I'm glad.
I couldn't help but going off script.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. So, and the part about Pixley coming with the crew that ended up going to the state finals, okay, in winning the state championship? No, you went to the finals.
No, we don't want to talk about
Okay, but went to the finals. He decided he wanted to do that as
it.
a coach.
We actually didn't go to the finals. We lost in the
semis.
semifinals. We were ranked 23rd in the country.
On a layup.
We were
Not you.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But I
Go ahead.
remember.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So it was
32
real.
and 0.
32 and 0. They were that good. And they overcame their coach. They overcame, a lot of different things. But it was amazing to see the transformation. He talks about in his book the first time he ever played pickup at Sanford when you showed up.
Sure did.
And the speed and the intensity and the strength. That's what we felt. We thought we were great. And then they came in, I was like, this is a whole nother deal. And ended up watching it half my senior year from the bench. But again, full circle.
Yeah.
Right? The only way that, I would ever, forgive that or forget that was to come back and literally become like brothers after that. But it was through that adversity, me, not him. But then, of course, 32 and 0 and they lose. But we got close
Keep doing that.
through all that. But my favorite Pixley story, which I don't even know if you remember this, I grew up, and this is another dad lesson. A lot of lessons from dad. But when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, my dad, on the way to work one day, we knew a guy whose mom worked for the doctor that lived across the street from us. And he was older, but he was almost an Olympic caliber track athlete, but a great basketball player, football player, did it all. And he went to Capitol High School. And the Capitol High School kids would go to North Street Gym on North Street, right, in the middle of not a great area of Baton Rouge. And my dad, through Travis was his name, dropped me off at that gym, 4th, 5th grade summer. And I remember him telling the guy running the gym, and I was the only white kid in the gym. He said, don't kill him, but teach him how to play basketball. So every day he would bring me to that gym, and I would get killed. But then I would go back to St. Aloysius, and it was a whole nother ball
A little
game.
different, yeah.
Because playing against the best, and then you go play against the kids at St. Aloysius, totally different. And so it changed my whole world. Those guys became my brothers. And people would ask me, Jason, what's your dream? I said, to wake up 6'11" and black. because those were my guys. Yeah. That's what I wanted to look like and be like. And that's where the dream started. So Pixley, full circle. So we go through basketball, go through Catholic High, still have the dream to play somehow, some way. Doesn't happen. But when Pixley came back from playing, and he had gone through the knee injuries, and he'd gone through, the dream of playing in the NBA. This was when you still had one of these jobs. It was before you were a coach, and he would kick off on one of these jobs he hated at like 3:30. And we would go to North Street Gym. We would go find gyms in Baton Rouge where the best of the best were playing.
As adults, y'all doing that?
As adults. This
it.
is when
Yes,
you came
indeed.
back to Baton Rouge. This is when you and Donna were engaged.
Yep.
And we would go to these gyms, and we'd walk in with only white guys in the gym, and people would kind of look at us like, who do these guys think they are? And we had this play where we would run. Do you remember this? The first play we would ever run Pixley would, hang out on the wing. I would have the ball at the point. And he would act like, he doesn't care. And then he would dart to the baseline. I'd throw him an alley-oop, and he'd go off on one leg, the one that worked, and he
right
would
leg.
dunk it the first play of the game. And the guys were like, oh no, And it was almost like, okay, we've arrived. Here we are on one. I'm better than you on one leg than you are on two. And we would go play basketball for 3 and 4 hours and bring back the joy of what that felt like.
I love that.
It didn't mean anything. It didn't matter. But we were playing the game that we loved and doing it together.
Time spent.
Yeah,
That's right.
and that time was, and so that's just one of the memories, and we have a lot. Where that moves into though is yesterday. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and don't go on many podcasts, but I always like when the people are prepared, like you've done. He didn't need to be, but you prepared because you're like, you care. Like you care about your guests. But I wanted to be prepared for who I was talking to. So yesterday I downloaded his book and I read the whole book. And it's only 75 pages, so it didn't take very long. But we kind of fell apart when you went and you did your coaching. I went this way, and kind of came back together a couple years ago. But when I read yesterday, year 5 and year 6, and what changed in you, and what then gave birth to Jace and gave birth to the great teams, was amazing to me, because it shifted. You grew up with coaches that, that did not have what you developed as a man, not as a coach, but as a man. And the love that you then showed to your players, because they were people, is what changed everything. We have a saying that I've used 100 years: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But the way you say it was, people aren't going to buy into what you're teaching until, and I'm butchering it, but until they know that you care about them as human beings. And if they know you care, number one, and the love and the care, I think, is elementary, the belief is next level. And you love them, you care about them, you're a parent, you love and care about your kids. But the belief in your kids, that they can do anything they set their mind to, the love you had for your kids, I think they knew you loved them, but then you started to believe in them, and they start to believe in themselves more. And there is nothing, and I know as a player, there is nothing that you would not do. You talked about Coach Sid. There's nothing that you would not do for a coach or a mentor or someone in your life that believes in you before you believed in you. And you take that belief and you will run through a brick wall for that person. That's my favorite moment.
That's awesome.
I
appreciate that.
In knowing Jonathan Pixley.
Yeah,
And
right.
it came in his book. But I didn't know it until I read it, because we weren't close during that time. Because when you started coaching, you weren't that guy.
That's right.
You were Brady's guy. You had learned from Brady. And what's remarkable about Brady, I don't know if Brady will ever see this, Brady is now that guy.
Oh, he's
He is
100% different human being.
He is, and again, Joey Davenport, he is. Brady now believes and loves people. And you see it all over him.
And I have a story about that, which is incredible. Years ago, Jeff Taylor passed away.
I know.
Colon cancer.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends was also at my wedding.
Yeah.
Played point guard with me at Sanford. So he passes away, and I'll never forget. He calls me to tell me, man, I was losing all this weight, and I was getting in great shape, and then I went and bought a motorcycle like an idiot, and I wrecked it the first time I rode it, and I tore my ACL, and so I had to go get that dealt with, and they catch the colon cancer.
Ah, gosh. Wow.
Okay. And he tells me all this, and it was incredible because he had beaten it, right?
Yeah.
Everything seemed to be okay a couple different times. And then I guess a couple years in, his wife calls me and says, hey, look, if you're going to get down here to see him, it's taken a bad turn. He said he's got weeks left. And so I started planning to go down that weekend, and it was 2 days later. I didn't get to it. I didn't get to it. Well, anyhow, so we go to the funeral. It's me, Joey Davenport, Tyler Davis, and John Brady.
Yeah.
We go to lunch after the funeral, and Coach Brady, if you've ever seen the movie The Junction Boys, where Bear Bryant is on the plane with his Kentucky team at the beginning, right? It's a reunion, and he's on the plane, and he breaks down, tears, apologizing to them for what he put them through.
Yeah.
Coach Brady didn't put us through that, but there was a moment at that lunch where he's like, I don't know how you guys dealt with what you dealt with. And it was a wide open, it was a very pivotal moment. And our relationship today has changed tremendously because of that. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
And you and I got reconnected when Jeff died, because I called you or sent you an email.
Yep, that's right.
Because, of course, I knew him.
Yep.
Motorcycle doesn't surprise me. He always had the cool rims on his car. But yeah. So it's through that adversity. And I think with Brady, with me, with everyone, it's through the struggle and the adversity that you grow and that you become who you're supposed to be. On the other side, you meet a new version of you when you get from point A to point B and you go through that struggle. And that's real life. That's marriage. That's friendships. That's And so it's so refreshing to be on the other side of that in so many areas. And again, you're either in a crisis, you're going into one, or you're coming out of one.
Yeah.
And I think
Usually always.
Yeah, and I think also it goes to prove the fact that when you have gone through things together, right, at some point in time, which we did, when there is a break of communication between that, you still have laid the foundation. And so it's no different than, in my opinion, if you're running a business for a long time with people that you know and care about, raising a family, right? When you've built that foundation, there's a foundation of forgiveness and a foundation of, look, I got it, it happened, but this was the best part of it. Let's make sure that we don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, when I think about what you brought up with Coach Brady, man, look, my time at Sanford was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? I played with my brothers there. My time with you, all of those things, you just see it. And I think that we lose sight of that too often, and all of a sudden, 20 years goes by.
Yeah.
And
What you did.
And you missed it. And we missed it.
Yeah.
But doesn't have to continue is the key. So anyhow.
Yeah. It's good. Really
I love
good.
it. So a lot of what you have experienced as an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, we can just say that from the very beginning, which you started down this path of being involved with scaling, growing, selling businesses in college, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of that's relationship based, isn't it?
Yeah,
And so
100%.
that's something that basically at the very core of Jason Bourne is relationships and growing from there. Talk to me, if you don't mind, for a second about what it's like as younger Jason, who gets a call from his high school basketball coach about going and learning ways to make money. What it's like being young in that position and having to deal with fear, anxiety, a range of emotions that may be a little bit different than what the typical college age kid's dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was actually my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade coach.
Okay.
This was Mark,
Dean.
whose dad was Joe Dean, the athletic director at LSU. And so he coached me in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I was Jonathan's going to laugh. I was not athletic at all. Okay.
See, I've seen these videos of you draining half-court
he can
shots,
shoot.
so
Okay,
I've seen you
but
shoot
there's
lights.
a big difference. There's a big difference in being able to shoot the rock and actually being able to play basketball. I could shoot the ball because, like him, all I did was shoot the basketball. I shot the basketball thousands of times a day since I was 5 years old. Thousands of times a day. Okay. Now, I didn't work on my foot speed. I didn't work on my endurance. I didn't work on my strength training. I didn't do anything. I shot the ball. Okay. We lived in this house that had a driveway that was like this. And so I would get on a real court and I always have to adjust because the goal was like 11 feet over
grade.
here. It was, like 8 feet over here. But that's all we had. But so I could shoot, and that's all I can still do is shoot. But I can still shoot pretty good. But 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I think it was 6th grade. I was thinking driving over here. There was a guy that coached a school called St. George, okay, which is now a city, right? Yeah. This guy's name was Rick Maddock. Rick Maddock was 7 feet tall. He played at LSU. I don't know if he ever played, but he was a player at LSU. And Rick Maddock coached St. George, and I went to St. Aloysius. And Mark Dean came in, 23 years old, Joe Dean's son, a complete lunatic. He would run, John Brady, he would run us. We ran more than we played basketball. But he said, no team is going to out-condition you. You are going to wear these kids out so much, you're never going to lose a game. And our 6th grade year, I think we ended up losing the final game, our 6th grade year, to Holy Family. Brad Sagan was a full-grown man in the 8th grade. And we lose by 2.
Twice a day, I think.
He shaved twice a day, and we lose. No, he was. Seriously.
Yeah.
And we lose to Brad. I think he scored 46 points, and he scored all their points, and they beat us. So, but I'll never forget Rick Maddock, this guy. I could shoot, and Mark would put me in the corner. We had the starting 4 and then me. So I was, just by default, I was in the starting 5 because everybody else was terrible. So I would get in the corner, and all the athletes would run around, and if they couldn't get us, and I would shoot, and I would make it most of the time. So I hit like 3 in a row from the corner, and Rick Maddock the coach. I hear him say, "Hey, Mitch." So Mitch was a kid who played for St. George. "Hey, Mitch, guard the fat in the corner. He can shoot." Okay? So Mark Dean hears this, calls timeout. And he goes, this was like in the second quarter. He goes, "We're running every play to Jason." And literally the 4 guys would pick for me, and I would get, and I ended up scoring like 25 points. Okay, my career high in the 6th grade. But after the game, Mark looked at me and he said, "You could do that every game." And for the first time in my life, somebody said, "You can do something." No ability, no reason, everybody was way better than me. But I started to believe, and I started to get pretty good, and it made me want to work harder. And so he became the first person. And again, my dad always believed in me, mother always, but athletically,
When a coach,
it's different.
it's different. Yeah.
It's different, you know, and dad, you know, would play basketball with me, but dad wasn't the, you know, just gave the gift to me. He wasn't a great athlete. He tells a story of he went out for the football team as a freshman at Thibodeau High, and they put him back to receive punts. And the first he caught the punt and he got, you know, completely smashed. And so on the next one, he calls a fair catch. The coach was like, "You can't call a fair catch." He goes, I quit. I need to be the manager. I need to wash the jock straps. So that was dad, you know, but Mark believed in me when I didn't believe in me. And so after high school, he's the one that calls me. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "you need to come take a look at this business." And he goes, "I believe you can do this. I believe if you go talk to your friends and you get them in front of me, that you could do something great." And you know what? I believed every word he said. So because he already believed in me. So, but yes, was there fear? Yes. The failure part was very hard to deal with. You know, being told no was very difficult at first. You know, caring about what other people think, very difficult at first. But I learned that action is the only thing that cures the fear. And I learned that if you can take failure, and again, you only have to be right once. You only have to find the right person once. You only have to find the right business once. And most people don't get it on their first shot. In fact, most people don't get it on their 100th shot. But the difference is they just keep shooting. And so when you redefine failure and you redefine rejection, and you realize that everyone that's ever been successful in anything, including, you know, you with your wife, you know, she wasn't the first person you asked to go on a date. So you had to go through a lot to get to it. It's why gold is so expensive.
Yeah.
Why is it so expensive? Because you got to beat through a lot of earth to get to it. If it was dirt and it was sitting on the side of Perkins Road, it'd be worth nothing. So the value is in beating through the dirt.
If you want to have a fun conversation with my wife, you can ask her about not just how many times it took asking her out to go out with me, how many years.
Yeah.
It took 2 years of dialing the same number over and over and over and waiting for her to get off of AOL Instant Messenger so the phone ring would actually go through, because she would clog up the line so that way there's a busy signal the whole time. You're welcome, Rebecca. I'll put you on blast in front of everybody.
So there
here,
you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
but what I love is the core of all this is somebody who believed in you.
Yeah.
So a coach believed in you.
That was it.
That
was it. Still to this day, if you were to say what got you, and not that I'm anywhere significant, but what got you through it, and it was he believed in me before I believed in me. It's whatever chapter it was after year 5 and 6. That's it. And so the impact that you can make by just believing in someone, and again, it's not false compliments. It's not flattery. It's not, you know, "Hey man, looking good." It's not that. It's taking someone's God-given gift. And, you know, you hear a lot shining the spotlight. You hear being the sunshine in someone's life. You know, I call it the flashlight. What that means is you take the flashlight and you go find something inside of someone else that's worth shining that light on, because everybody's got it. Everybody's a gift from God. Everybody was made in his image. Everybody's got something. You go be the spotlight on that. And for me, it was Mark Dean. It was Donnie Quinn, of all people. For you, it was Coach Sid. Coach Sid for me too, but it was saying, I'll never forget, Donnie Quinn was our JV coach, and he was a John Brady type. He was nuts. Like, I mean, we would run till our guts, till we threw up. But I'll never forget, and again, I had no talent at all. But when they did the drill where they threw the ball out and we stood on the baseline and we had to dive for that ball, which is insane. You'd go to jail today for doing that. But literally, they would roll the ball out and you'd have to go dive with another player on the ball, on the ground. I mean, I was the first one on the ground. And so he pulls me up and he says, you know what? You're the least talented guy on this team. I don't even know why you're on this team. But you are willing to do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, to be on this team. And that is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that moment for as long as I live. And so it wasn't about my ability. It wasn't about the result. It was about the effort. And if you can shine the spotlight and be the sunshine on somebody's effort and on somebody's God-given ability that they have, it's got nothing to do with what's on the outside. It's everything to do with what's on the inside, their heart. And you magnify that, that can change that person's life. But when you change that person's life, what do?
Everybody around them, yeah.
Well, it's the ripple effect. It's the butterfly effect. It's the domino, whatever you want to call it. We talked about Ed Milet. We talked about the power of one more.
Yep.
And I got this from him. And I always want to give credit because he talks about people stealing his stuff all the time, which it's that good. People steal it all the time. But Ed talks about being the one in your family. He talks about great families and how they weren't always great until the one showed up. Until the one showed up that said, I'm going to change the course of this family's genealogy forever by making the decision to do what? To commit, to be an encourager, to whatever it is, whether it's financially, whether it's, generational curses we learn a lot about. People say, well, that's always run in my family. He says, well, it runs out with me. It ran in my family till it ran into me. But the one changes it all. Talks about the movie The Matrix and Neo being the one. But you have the ability to be that one for your family. This guy is that one. I know his family. I know how he grew up. He's the one for his family. He has changed the course with Donna and his girls of his family forever because somebody encouraged him. Somebody believed in him, who's now the mayor, which is crazy, right?
It is nuts.
But how did he get elected to be the mayor? Because he believed in people, not because he knew how to be a mayor.
He had to get people to vote for him. And
And
he did that through authentic.
That's it. Real leadership.
That's it.
Which is believing in people. So if maybe your family's awesome, maybe your dad was the one, or your grandfather, or your mother, or grandmother, awesome. But you can be that one to create that one in someone else, which changes literally generations of people.
Yeah, no, that's
and
strong.
it's all belief.
That's so strong.
It's all belief. It's love first, but then graduate to, man, I believe in you. I believe you can take these abilities and you can do whatever you want to do. And that's real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife put a sticky note on my mirror the other day. It said, "You're not here to be accepted. You're here to be the exception." Mm-hmm. And I don't get fired up by a lot of quotes and things like that. It takes a lot, right? Because we've seen so many, and you hear so many, and you hear so many people from stage, and you're like, "Is that guy real? This, that, the other." I read that, I was like, oh, "Wow," because she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she put it there,
Yeah.
right? And so that's exactly what you're talking about. I have a question for you that kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier when you got dropped off at the North Street jump. In order for you to, and again, you've been involved in many, many different things. In order for you to challenge yourself, those days at the North Street gym, you had to be around players who were better than you.
Yeah.
And you did that, okay? Talk about that in the business world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. You only get better by surrounding yourself with people who are better. And in the business world, it's no different. We talk about the power of association, the power of a peer group, the power of who you hang out with. You'll hear people call it your starting five of who you hang out with on a daily basis. And again, you hear this in every self-help book like that you talk about. But, you're the sum average of, whether it's financial, you want a great marriage, hang around people with a great marriage. Yep. You want to be a great basketball player, go get around people that are better than you. You want to make a lot of money, go get around people that make a lot. So in any area of life, you want to be a better man, a better Christian, go get around people who are better than you. And the cream, it rises. But some people say, well, I don't have that around me. Well, now you have the beauty of this. I mean, you have the ability to go and listen to people every single day that have done more and who are the example. And we say something every night before we go to sleep. I say prayers with my kids, and they rattle off these positive motivational things. But one of them is, I want to be an example and not a warning. And you got to go find those examples of who you want to be like, and submerge yourself into their stuff. And ultimately, for me, it was Ed. Ed's one of those guys. Came from the same industry that I am in. Sold out and made $500 million. Okay, but that's not what makes him valuable. His experience of going from nothing to what he did is what makes him valuable. And so I've listened to his podcast for 3 years. Incessantly, every single morning. I wake up at 4:25 because you wake up at 4:30, and I go walk and I listen to Ed. And I had the opportunity, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, to go to his house with 20 other people. And it's the first time that I ever got to really be around him and meet him. But you get in these rooms and you realize, number one, these people are no different than you. They started just like you did. Some of them overcame things you'll never have to overcome, but you get around their story and you start to realize, if he can do it, I can do it. God's no respecter of persons. He puts his pants on just like I do. There was nothing special about him that I don't have, or that the rest of the world doesn't have. But you know what? Somebody believed in him. Somebody told him he could do it. He went and surrounded himself with the right people. Got the right mentorship. And the first meeting that Mark Dean brought me to, I remember nothing other than this. The guy got up and he said, show me your mentor and I will predict your future. And most people don't have one. Most people don't know what that means. But the people that do, and the people that follow that, and go get multiple mentors now that you can grab that information that's so easily available, the sky's the limit. On what you can do. And, I have said many, many times, I've heard many, many times, the only difference between ultra successful people, happy, whatever you want to call it, and it's nothing to do with money, right. Okay, is the 6 inches between your ears. That's it. That's the only thing that separates people. And what you feed those 6 inches through your ears, through your eyes, in your mouth, is what determines the way you're going to think. And that stacked over time is the difference between winning and losing, happy and sad, fulfilled and empty. That's the difference. And it's not all one big gulp. It's just a little bit every day. And everybody can do that.
That's huge. I got one more question for you. And we typically close with this. Jason Bourne today gets to look back at 15-year-old Jason Bourne and give one piece of advice.
I would have gone to Christian Life, and I would have averaged, I wouldn't know you, but I would have averaged 32 points a game. I would have gotten a scholarship to LSU, and sat on the very end of the bench and never played. I'm kidding. Yeah. But I probably would have. Well, because it was in the back of, we grew up in Pollard Estates.
Yeah, it's right there.
The Brady Bunch neighborhood. But I rode my bike there every day and I played basketball. And there was a coach there named Kalen Dahl.
Yeah.
And Kalen Dahl was one of the most unbelievable people that I've ever been around.
Yeah.
And for 4 years, he offered me, again, it was before NIL. Yeah. But he said, man, look, all we would do is just set picks for you all day. And the 3-point line came when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And I didn't go. Yeah. Biggest regret of my life. Anyway, but what would I say? What advice would I give 15-year-old?
One piece of advice. You only get to give them one. What is it?
have the courage to believe bigger sooner.
Explain.
The only difference between, Brandon Landry and the guy that's struggling with one restaurant, to me, is that Brandon believed sooner. And that belief as a young person, believing that the sky is the limit and you can do anything, you can do all things, and it's available to you. Believing that younger, I think, sets you on a path where you can collapse timeframes, as you talk about in your book, and you can get to your destination, which, again, it's never a final destination, but you can get into what you were meant to do with your life sooner. And I think you can live a more productive, happy life by finding your calling sooner than later. And so I would have believed bigger sooner.
That's huge.
That's solid. Yeah. Well, Jason, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking time out of your day to come hang out with us. It's been a lot of fun talking, hearing about your past, hearing about his past that he won't share with us.
I got more.
Okay. Well, part 2 coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a wrap here. Thank you for your time, and we'd like to sign off every single podcast with saying, go get it.